Hey gang, Scott Davenport here, and I'm recording this one day after finishing up the last workshop of 2019, the Oregon coast. It was fun. It was a really great group, had a lot of good photo opportunities, and as I do with all my workshops, I like to think about some of the themes that emerged during it, and I've got 5 for you here. 5, I think they're really tips that you can use with your photography that came out of this week I spent with a bunch of great and fun photographers in Oregon. The first one that comes to mind, straight and foremost, is always have your camera with you. So Oregon coast, you get some mix of weather. You're never quite sure what you're going to get. And one morning, we didn't really have the sunrise opportunity. So, just said, great, we're going to town, get breakfast, and then we were going to go, continue our shooting day. And we kind of went back and forth on, do we bring the cameras, do we not? We all ended up bringing the cameras, and it was really good that we did, because we ended up spending almost an hour in and around town just capturing photos, even though the weather wasn't what you would consider good conditions for landscape work. So always having your camera with you, very good idea. And this lends into the second theme from the workshop, is that shooting in the fog is both challenging but rewarding. And so this morning that we didn't have good conditions for sunrise, it was really, really foggy, and the fog was continually changing. It would get thick, it would fade away, and get thick again. And this is all over the course of 15 minutes. We ended up in and around this group of pilings in water. If you've ever been to Bandon, Oregon, you probably know the spot that I'm talking about. And like I said, we spent, probably 40 minutes out just in and around these pilings, finding different things to capture. Seabirds that were out there, just, old, hunks of metal, looks like maybe something that would dredge up a harbor, the pilings themselves, and all the time the fog changing around in a conditions that you wouldn't necessarily think were great to shoot in. Now, the fog photos themselves prove a little challenging to process, but the rewards are pretty good. And even on the drive into Bandon proper, just stopped in this one valley area and said, okay, here's a bank of fog. Let's take some photos, see what we can do with them. And here's a before and after of one of the photos that I grabbed. This is like a run and gun kind of thing. You jump out of the car, snap a few photos, and then spend a little time in the computer to work on it. And I like my photos in foggy conditions to be black and white, and really did get a pretty pleasing photo out of it that you might not have thought possible. So a little work in processing, get some good results from the fog. Now, speaking of processing, there were several other themes that came out. So the third one is Border Patrol, and we all got really good at this by the end of the workshop, going around the edges of our frame and looking for things that would distract the viewer's eye. Tiny bits of leaves, or just a pebble, a bright shiny reflection of some like sun off the wet sand, or a rock or something, anything that would draw our attention away from whatever our subject is, which is closer to the center of the frame. So Border Patrol, checking the edges, that was a big theme. Another one is that crops are transformative. Taking a photo that we framed up, felt pretty good about it when you're framing it in the field. And then when you get back to looking at it on a bigger screen, looking at it on your laptop, whatever it may be, realizing, the story of the photo is actually tighter, or it's smaller, or changing the crop to a wider aspect ratio, like a 16:9. One of the folks in the workshop was really good at this and getting that wide, like almost panoramic look on a photo simply by doing a crop. So crops are really transformative. And the fifth tip is about white balance and anything that has water moving it around. Streams or the ocean itself. At the white caps is the great spot to set white balance. That would set the tone for the rest of the image and result in something that was more natural, more pleasing, and didn't have as much of a bluish cast. This came out in one of the places we went to, Sweet Creek. Many different photos had kind of this this not over the top, but like an overall blue cast to them, and simply picking a white point on the white caps, where they, that white wash of water. Well, that should be white, and that really set the stage for a good, finishing processing on them. So those are the things that really, stood out to me from the workshop. I mean, other than, again, it's such a great group, and I was really, really happy to spend the time with them in Oregon. You got questions or thoughts about this, or you got other tips for shooting? Drop them in the comments below. Just share them. Let everyone learn together. That's kind of the whole point of why I do these videos anyway. And until next time, my name's Scott Davenport. Happy shooting.